Greetings, ladies and metal gents, and welcome to the latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called The Unfair Folk, written by LordsOfJoop. They caught him at the starport, and he took out 15, non-lethally, might I add, of their security team alone, naked, except for the hat. The agent sipped on a drink, the warmth of it radiating through her mug, stowed away on that inbound supply circuit freighter from Sensor. No camouflage, just a naked lunatic. The other half of the equation. He shook his head, bemused expression affixed to his aged face. These things are the definition of insanity. We've caught, 8 of them so far? 2 nodded in reply. 8 with another 2 still on the Rhizo's ridge, running endless circuits around the Grand Crater's rim. Their colony, a settlement in what was once the Terran Unity, was marked by a gigantic divot carved out by an ancient impact. The crater of it, 500 kilometers in circumference. Within it lay the fractional majority of the colonists, most of whom had been there for over 3 generations' time. You'd figure that our security teams could catch 2 nutters who are working on a linear path, he says, irritated at the outgoing and failed efforts to catch the 2 escapees from local law enforcement. And you'd be wrong. All they'd like to do is spray graffiti, vandalize vehicles, and scatter fungus all over the place, she smirked, shaking her head. Just no sense to anything that these creatures do, really. Well, time to go have a chat with that, little nutter. Snorting, she set her cup down and entered the interrogation room, and was struck with an impression of the wrong idea being in place somehow, that an error had been made somewhere early and important. Waving it off, she took a seat, looking to the shackled creature, absorbing its details dispassionately. It had a freshly broken nose, was obviously a male of its species, and had been dressed in a prison hospital gown, albeit one size for the local species, which was twice as tall as it was. Staring at her defiantly, the creature sneered, exposing where 5 of its teeth had been cracked. Likely, during the recent brawl that printed bruises in the shape of knuckles on its cheek and chin. Am I being detained? Is it by your authority? It said, its voice hoarse, ruined, like it had shouted at a considerable volume for a long time. To this, she smirked, then nodded. Oh, most definitely, yes, to both of those ideas. Unlikely until you're dead, little monster. It smiled at them, grinning from ear to ear, then gave a panting noise, as if excited by the idea. Oh, lovely. Thank you for that. She felt it again, the fluid wrongness of the movement, washing over and through her. Her partner, entering the interrogation room, stared at the creature in open disgust. By the powers, that thing is hideous, he said, taking a seat next to her. Opposite with the feral-looking thing with the ruddy cheeks. Bright crimson hat perched on his head ruefully. Where are you from? Are you considered average, ugly, or beautiful? To this, the smiling man raised an eyebrow. I am not considered by most, and when I am, I'm reconsidered considerably. He chuckled, and it felt like the walls of the room warped, tightening around them, then relaxed, a corpse's jaws going slack. He gripped the table, seeing her do the same. The monster was getting to their nerves. They'd been warned by the others who had captured them. I have no food to offer you, weary fools, it said, all smiles and danger. You'll have to beg me to spit in your face, though. A day like no other is soon to dawn. Oh my, and won't it be wondrous? He panted again, tongue lolling in an obscene mirroring of the exhausted animal, or, perversely, an aroused one. Repulsed, she squinted at the creature. You're shackled, in a chair bolted inside of a dark, unnumbered room, in the custody of the secret police, she said patiently. An alien with no representative on this world, in a government which does not accept your world's sovereignty to exist at all. And still, you think that you have some upper hand in this affair. I applaud your bravado. It's just that you're, unreasonably stupid for a human. The creature's smile died violently as it spoke, acid to its tone. Take that back, and take it back now, child. Before you were, I was, and I have forgotten more cruelties than I will teach you for your insolence. Take it back! Now, it growled, and the table felt like a wild animal, bucking and writhing, although it never moved an inch. Both of the agents released their grips on it, staring in horror as the creature smiled again, returning to what passed for peacefulness. You don't like being told that you're powerless, or was it something else? The elder of the pair, looking at the monster closely, narrowed his gaze. To this, the creature brightened its smile considerably. I'm not locked in here with you, he said. You're locked in here with me. One of us did that by choice. But the other thinks they're safe. It drew a breath and stared, and an abyss seemed to open up in its eyes, swallowing both agents' gaze, chewing on them, then spat them free, leaving them gasping, unsure of what had just happened. Without a word, both departed, abandoning the room and the creature haunting it. Lighting up a cigarette, the elder shook, his fingers barely obedient, her own equally insolent, joining him, the sign warning them of penalties for smoking in the black site, devoid of irony. Are those humans supposed to have psychic powers? No, not that I've seen any documentation. There might be something in the redacted reports from the other captures. That is, he frowned, if you're willing to attach your name to that inquiry. Neither spoke, because neither would. Speculation was safer. Exhaling smoke, she spoke. Something is very, very wrong. Did it strike you that it's a child, maybe? He furrowed his brows, shaking his head. No, it's a fully grown adult, I think. I think I know what you mean. That they're supposed to be bigger. There was another pause, filled with smoke and contemplation. That thing is, at best, 1.10 meters tall. Everywhere that I have heard of, they're reportedly at least as tall as us. That's 2 meters, give or take. He nodded to her words. With you so far. Wait. He then gestured to his comm unit. I have an ex working on the ridge. Does Firewatch. I can call. Maybe get some details off book. To this, she nodded. A few minutes' dialogue in a semi-private niche later, he returned, shaking his head. Okay, clearly I should have made it another day. Because, well, she was irritated, he said. To this, she smirked and then said, And now you remember why she's your ex. He grinned, shaking his head. Yeah, well, so I have some details. Security is keeping the Firewatch, along with the Animal Control and a few other wilderness agencies, updated on the goings-on, more or less. And, yeah, those humans, they're all about 2 meters tall. Although, get this. Whatever it is the troops are tracking on the ridge, it's a dead ringer for the thing in the room we've got. An eyebrow raised and the question needed to be asked. So, what's the real story? He glanced to the closed door and the monster seal behind it, taking an unconscious step backwards, a nervous expression on his face. They have 60 different search groups, plus about 80 or so drone flyovers, running them back and back, and all they are getting is frustrated and exhausted. She bit her lip, frowned, then motioned to the closed door. It's not from the file, she said. Those things are hard to find, let alone catch. And this thing was anything except either of those elements. It begged to be found, never resisted. All it's done is, talk creepy and make vague threats. She furrowed her eyebrows. You know, that this thing is making me feel like we make normal people feel. Helpless, like there's some joke it knows that the punchline to and it's just setting up for it. He gave this some thought, then tapped his chin. There enough, he said, then removed a flexible baton from his cabinet in the corridor, signing out on it. After a second thought, he retracted another, then a can of vision-cancelling spray. Let's go teach this thing some manners and how we do business. She was smiling as she gave the baton a test thump across her palm, that dark excitement rising. The joy of the chair, a bound prisoner, acres of pain to squeeze into a few meters of meat. The hideous choir, about to sing a solo. He opened the door and the chair was empty, bent backwards at the rear plate. The legs of it splayed as if its great weight had slammed into the floor. A faint hint of acrid smoke rising from the bends and warps. The metal was still cooling with soft, irregular pinging noises. In the mirror, not in the space reflected, lay the creature, It smiled as wide as it was angry.
"There's a story,"
it said, a voice emanating from nowhere and everywhere, even in the air between the two secret police agents, their eyes wide, hands filled with clenched on the batons.
"About being good hosts to strangers. You have not been good hosts, and I am a stranger than most."
The laugh which followed was a walking echo, bouncing from wall to wall, floor to ceiling, and vanished instantly. A cackle of a witch got angry, proud, crazy. Behind them a door collapsed, and the corridor was filled with scattered tools and implements of agony. The cabinet no longer upright. It was torn into fist-sized pieces, hurled about wildly. In the smoky gap where it stood was a faint outline of the creature, a hazy thing that flickered and vanished.
"A toy chest,"
it said, a tone of glee starting as the two agents ran for cover, seeking out the locked box with their firepower, eager to level the field again.
"Such wonderful things. These devices are yours. Oh, look!" "Playmates."
A scream began, raised in pitch, then was culled in the middle. A door folding in on itself, like a neutron star, had passed through it. No sign or symptom of the interfering force or object in evidence. All that remained was the freshest of blood throwing itself through the air, splattering on the opposite wall, forming an outline in the air of a small monster, this time matching it even more visibly.
"The color is wrong,"
it said, then stepped towards the two agents, each stride covering 7 times the distance it should. Soon enough, leaving it in front of them, dripping in blood.
"Where I am from, it's red. Red for a purpose. Still, I will work with what I have. Green is a sacred color."
It exhaled, and its body shivered. The green blood on its form shifted to a deep, harsh crimson, eyes bright and angry and Magnus.
Watch me, see the miracle."
It angled its head, staring at them in that cold, dark way. Drops of blood, now tinted red, crawled up its body, curled around its features like a waterfall in reverse, sliding into the gap at the edge of its curled hat. Second by second, the hat's color turned what awful shade of gore gone wrong, its eyes cool and icy blue, rimmed in frost.
"You called me a human."
It looked to the pair, distaste obvious as they tried in vain to strike it, only to see their batons passing through its body like smoke.
"I am no human, not born of woman, fostered by a man, a son of anything, twinned of a daughter to anyone. I am what I am."
Its smile was wicked. They charged and passed through it, the body slams raining as fast as they happened. Even brute force fell short of possibly harming it, only themselves.
"If you'd fed me," it said, "I could have been harmed by you. If you'd been gentle, I would be weak. Instead, your strength made me strong. Your anger made me wise."
It then reached out and plucked the batons from their resisting hands, then placed them into its mouth, chewing them into oblivion, splinters of carbon fiber drifting to the floor like ashes.
"You make me what I am."
It leaned in menacingly.
"Mad."
When it smiled, it had teeth like tombstones, pearls of marble white, slabs bent to form triangular daggers, molars that could grind granite. And then it bit each of them, just the once, just on the cheek. A mark which would ache and throb and never ever fully heal. A wound to remind them forever.
"When we want it," it said, "we will be back by the thousands. And our world, the rings and mushrooms bind us, our prison to keep us in special places."
It grinned wildly.
"The humans spread our fungus jail walls across the whole world and beyond. So now, this is our world as well."
It heavily exhaled.
"When they speak of this place, they shall tell tales about you. The two who set loose the creatures who left Earth to free the humans."
It sighed in joy.
"For 1,000 years you are ours. And now is time."
The doors to the basement of the world opened, and the light began to shine through them. Outside, Hundreds of short red-hatted monsters stood in clusters, all armed with wide, easy smiles, war clubs, knives, swords, axes, and the banners of ancient clans from a faraway world.
The Fae have claimed this place.
End of story. I would just like to thank the T5 supporters: Bushmaster 117, Casper Arnholtz, Draxzoon WRE, Elijah Silvercross, Gray, John Carrington, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.